Hello, my name is Tom Gordon, and I was born in Houston, Texas in 1951 in an ice storm. And I tell people I incarnated in Texas but got out as quick as I could. But between me and you, I have a degree in nursing. At the age of 49, I decided for my middle age crazy phase that I would become a nurse because I had done a lot of different things, probably 200 jobs, as one would find out if they read my recently unpublished book called The Man Who Had 1,000 Jobs. I like to write, that's one of my interests. And I just wanted to do something that I felt could make a difference in someone's life significantly. And as long as I could pay my bills and I had, a roof over my head, I was happy. It's just all there was to it. And I've always been fortunate in the sense that uh, I've never worried a lot about money. It's always whatever is there has been there. I've never really worried that it's not going to be there or felt any uncertainty about that. I mean, of course, times in my life, but so it just a tremendous amount of support in my life, I think, and getting my degree in nursing was hard. I went through nursing school while working 6 jobs at a video store and a TSO and God knows whatever else for $6 an hour and no help, and graduated. And so that experience allowed me to know that there's nothing in life that I cannot accomplish because at 49 years old, I got my degree in nursing, associate's degree. So from there, I went quickly, this is professionally, to MD Anderson and worked pediatric oncology there as a student nurse, waiting to take my state boards. And it was a wonderful experience. And I went on and also worked home health and hospice and quad and paraplegics. And every single day of my life, I feel that I made a difference in someone else's life. Every single day. And most days, a significant difference because I worked with a lot of old people too, seniors. And children and seniors are a lot alike in a lot of ways. And I just loved them, and my heart was always open, and I always felt that I would appreciate uh, having someone do for me what I was doing for them when I was older, and the joy that they express just from a simple thing you do, they just wow, thank you so much, and then the heart, really swells. So that was very satisfying, and I went ahead and decided to go into medical technology, computer systems, because I knew that there was good money there. It was coming up in 2000, and I wouldn't have to be in constant jeopardy of putting my back out or whatever, which a lot of nurses have a lot of difficult issues with that. So um, from there, I went into working for the vendor and then consulting, and I retired in 2016 from IT, and I had moved to Fairfield in 2006 to join something called the Invincible America Assembly, which consisted of folks being invited from all over the world, really, to come to Fairfield and meditate together. The meditation was transcendental meditation, as taught by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And it's been a lifelong interest of mine, transcendental meditation and music. Um, I took up a little business doing water purification systems here, and the community is such a beautiful community. We really are constantly doing what we can for each other. It's very supportive. And it's a tremendous place for a senior, especially to retire in, because I know, as well as most of the other people around here, that if they're in need of anything, somebody's going to be there for them, usually 4 or 5 people. And where can you imagine living anywhere else in the United States where that would be the case? I mean, it's really amazing. So we sit together, my brothers and sisters, in the domes. We have 2 golden domes where we practice the technologies that Marishi's given us, and we enjoy it a lot. We're usually in bed, lights out, and we usually try to lead a real healthy lifestyle. And I think the result is that we are definitely all doing the best we can for our age and our circumstances, because when you're surrounded by other people who practice similar lifestyles, it supports your lifestyle. And um, so I learned TM. It's a wonderful story that I love to tell. In 1971, and at the time, I was doing a yoga class in Hatha Yoga, and the yoga instructor, we were doing a candle gazing technique, and when we came out of it, she said, "There's some people over here that teach this TM, and they give you a mantra, use a mantra or something, and you might enjoy it. Check it out." So, a couple of days later, I show up for this intro lecture on transcendental meditation. And it sounded really, really great. And I thought I could really use this, because at the time I was I was a mess. I was a real mess. This was earlier in my life in 71, so I don't know, I was 20 years old. I was taking phenobarbital tranquilizers, maybe 10 or 20 a day. I was so nervous that I couldn't even get a coffee cup up to my mouth without spilling about half of it. I mean, it was really, it, thinking about it now, it's like, wow, that's scary. And, um, I started TM. I came for my instruction, and they told me to bring flowers and fruit in a handkerchief. And they asked me if I'd been drug free for 2 weeks. And I said yes, even though I had had a little bit of marijuana, I think maybe 10 days before. Uh, And I guess I've always had that side to me, a little bit of mischievousness. And so when I got my instruction, I closed my eyes, as I was instructed, and within about a millisecond, well, first of all, I got on this elevator that descended endlessly into infinity, and then I went out into infinity, and and 20, 25 minutes later, when I opened my eyes, I realized that I had been infinity. There was no ego, there was no sense of body and surroundings, there was no sense of identity. It was just it was just immense bliss and calm and the peace that promotes all understanding. So I was like, yeah, this is good. So I went back, and we had my checking and everything, and then I was on my way, completely capable of practicing the technique on my own after only this personal instruction of about 30 minutes or so, and then 3 days of checking and sharing with the instructor, sharing more information with us, and then that was it. You're completely. They said you can take this the rest of your life. It doesn't matter what you eat, what religion you are, what you practice, uh, you know, what your belief is. You can be skeptical even that it's maybe how well it works, but you have the ability to do it the rest of your life. You don't have to go read a book. You don't have to join up whatever, whatever. So that was pretty significant. So I'll refer back to TM a couple of times during this time when I'm speaking with you to talk about other experiences related to it and other events in my life. But needless to say, it was significant. I mean, it was just there I am 20 years old, and the most significant experience I could ever imagine to have. So there's a couple of things I thought that I would talk about in this particular part of my talking with you today out there in TV land. And one of them was stories of enlightenment. Wow, doesn't that sound interesting? Currently, I've never been happier in my entire life than I am now. Currently, I feel that I have never been at a greater state of self realization than I am now. Uh, my life is very simple, it is full of joy and lots of laughing and bliss And when you say the word bliss, bliss is hard for some people to understand. It sounds a little, but it's just this feeling that every cell in your body is happy. Every single cell in your body is happy, no matter what else is going on. And that's pretty much what I've carried with me for as long as I can remember. I don't remember a time in my life when it's not been that way. And so to me, that's what really enlightenment is about. The pursuit of enlightenment is just real, being here now, of course, and realizing that you really have everything you need if you can just get out of the way. And when I say get out of the way, that is drop all those things that are associated with you and your identity and the things you should be or you think you ought to be, and just be yourself and accept the circumstances for anything that comes up in your life. Own everything that you do. Um, be able to say, there's a reason behind this, and I believe that reason is for maximum evolution for myself. And so um, that to me is, if I can't imagine a state of life where I'd be happier than I am now, but I know it's there. But it's already so much a part of my life that I feel like, if there is such a thing as a point of enlightenment where you feel that, this is it, this is what I've longed for forever, and now it's here. It'll be nice, but it'll be the icing on the cake, because the cake is already there. Say, when I was, remember, 12, 13 years old, I was sitting outside with my brother. My stepfather was in the beer joint. We were waiting for him to come out for whatever reason. And all of a sudden, everything just started expanding. And I realized that I was apparently is I was I was big, I was huge, and I wasn't really part of any of this that was going on. There was some largeness, something that I didn't understand, but I knew that it was intensely uh, uh, profound, and I felt like my life it had a direction that I knew it was going to take, and I just was really excited about that possibility. So that I look at as a glimpse of what life might be like, later on in my life when I was older. And the whole rest of my life, I just had a tremendous feeling of being calm and at peace, even though there was a lot of stuff swirling around at the time. And it was a pretty traumatic time for myself and my brother. Mom had divorced when I was only 8 years old, so blah, there's a lot going on there. But that feeling of peace was there, of calm. So that's the feeling that I have. It just grew as I continued years after years after years, and staying true to my practice of TM and doing it regularly, because I never, I never wanted not to do it. And you get in that routine, and you just know that when you're tired or fatigued or whatever, you can close the eyes and do it for 15 minutes, and you come out, boom, have this tremendous amount of energy. So that's all I'll say about that. But those are, other than another couple of times that people reflect on, and probably, they realize too that they've had their periods of self-realization, or those times, aha moments. So those are always great, I think, and those were mine. So I share those as a couple of my experiences. And in terms of family, well, I guess I'll say I never really felt part of a family. Again, with the divorce at such an early age, and mom remarrying a guy with a couple of boys, and us all four living in a small bedroom, and always reaching for the last piece of chicken, so that you wouldn't go hungry. I mean, it was pretty tough. It really was, and I felt like a super outsider, probably most of my life. Um, and so I just never, at 18, I was a senior in high school and dropped out with a 96.5 average, and a scholarship to the Air Force Academy pending, to join a rock and roll band. And that's after I had, a little of the hay. it's just like I had to get out. I knew there were bigger things in life. I didn't want to go kill people in Vietnam. I was not going to. I'm a patriot, but I was thinking about heading for the border, but I thought, no, I'll probably go ahead and serve because I love my country. But the pot bust ended up giving me a 4F in classification, so I was 1A in number 33 in the lottery. In '69, I'd have been in the Tet Offensive and might not be here talking to you now. And so when I got the marijuana bust, they declassified me, sent me a 4F. And notice that we have enough druggies in the Army. We don't want you. We got too many. So that was like a blessing in disguise. And uh, the family just never, they went their way and I went my way. So I finally identified in my life about 2 weeks ago when I went up and visited my son, who's 45, and we were estranged for 38 years or so. He was 2 years old when my wife remarried, and I considered adoption. And I have a granddaughter, Emma, who's 9, and I had not seen him or her in 7 years, and that's a long time. Emma was only 1; he was whatever. Simply because, again, they had busy on their family and that and everything, and I never really felt. Eric is my biological son, and so we only briefly connected a couple of times previously, and it was kind of that cursory, yes, I know you're my biological father, but we didn't, we just didn't have, hadn't been able to connect a lot, even though we're very, very similar in personality, etc. And so that ended up resulting with my looking down at my granddaughter and saying, her looking up at me first, hugging me around the knees and looking up and saying, I love you, Grandpa Tom. And then me looking at her and going, I love you, granddaughter Emma. I love you, Emma. I mean, that's the first time we've been able to say that to each other in 8 years, her whole life, and certainly mine. And then my son, he says, oh, you guys hit it off pretty well, because he didn't know how, we'd get along. He knew I was good with kids. He comes in late that night. I'm due to leave the next morning. He knocks on the door and comes in and says, he just walks over to me. He puts his arm around me and he gives me a big hug and lays his head down on my shoulder. I says, I love you. Ah. So that was like, of course, said back to him, I love you. It was just so incredible. I mean, my heart just burst out of my chest. It was like, so the next morning is 4 o'clock. So I left. I didn't see him because the Uber was picking me up. And so that's family. And I was going with him to get a birthday present for my granddaughter, a Roblox card that she can play the video games and go out and purchase stuff. And I turned to my son Eric as we were driving, and I said, I've never had a sense of family. I've never felt identified with any family. But I do with you. You're my family. You're my son, my full blood. And I have a granddaughter, same thing. Wow, you're my family. I'm your father. And the ancestral thing, and the son that comes to replace the father. And the father hopes that he's going to be outstanding and great and successful in all areas. And guess what? He is. Published 3 trilogies, etc. Very successful. Married for 16 years to his beautiful wife, who's a tenured professor at Towson University. He's an advanced video game designer for ZeniMax Studios, one of the largest video producers in the world. So that's family. Well, I mentioned that music was one of my lifelong interests, so I'll talk about that a little bit. The first guitar I ever had was 13 or 14. It came from Sears and Roebuck. It was a silver tone guitar that came in a case about this tall, and you open the case up, and there was a little amplifier on one side of the case with a tremolo, and then there was the guitar. That was it. And for you musicians out there, the action on it was about like a quarter of an inch. I mean, it was like, oh my God. But I loved it. And I started banging away there in the room with my other 3 brothers, and everything, usually when they were gone, and just fell in love with it. I played saxophone throughout my school years in junior high and high school, alto, tenor, and baritone sax. So I had good musical theory knowledge and everything. Ended up trading that guitar, or I got another guitar after that, a year or two, and spent about 1 year with the little band there with the high school, a couple of us guys, we practicing in the garage or whatever. And it was a lot of fun. And then later, as I mentioned earlier, I dropped out of high school and joined the band in Houston, Texas, which was the big city because I'd been living in a little farm about 30 miles outside of Houston called Waller. We had 25 acres and a little house there with horses and pigs and chickens and all that. And loved the country. I loved the lifestyle and everything, but education was not challenging at all. And the band was really a relief, because I didn't fit in the other areas, the cowboy crowd, or, I was more the surfer crowd, which means I didn't wear a hat and chew tobacco. Basically, that made me a surfer. Oh, and also I mentioned that I played the guitar, uh, and so I ended up trading that guitar, another guitar I'd gotten, for trading my saxophone for a guitar, a nice, really nice guitar. I think it was a 12-string Gretsch, double cutaway. It wasn't a Gretsch, but it was something like that. That was great. And then so I played, all through the 70s in that while I was doing other things. Not a lot, but it was just a thing to do. If you had a guitar and you play, and especially if there were ladies present at the event, uh, it definitely opened doors there. And I was so shy. I was just the second most shyest person in the world in 1969 at 18 years of age. And the only time I wasn't shy was when I played music. And so I started coming out of my shyness. And then a couple of years later, I started TM, and then it just seemed like my creativity just really picked up. I started playing a little bit more. Uh, I loved TM so much that I ended up becoming a teacher. And while I was over in Italy on my teacher training course to teach other people how to do TM, because uh, I couldn't imagine anything more wonderful. And I've never enjoyed anything as much as I have as being a teacher of transcendental meditation. The nursing career came close, but and I, uh, I finished my course and came home, and we were getting ready for the Maharishi to come. There was a big event in Jones Hall, and he inaugurated the dawn of the Age of Enlightenment, or the world peace, I think it was. And there was I was at the TM Center there. I was there one day, and then I went into the parlor there, and there was this young guy sitting there, really just totally clean shaving, really short hair, and he had what I knew to be a lap steel, and he was playing away on it, and he really sounded great. I mean, it was really like I went, "Whoa, this guy's so square looking and everything." I mean, and here he is really picking some tunes here. I mean, he was wow, bending some strings and stuff. So the two kind of juxtaposed, and I said, "Hey, yeah, I'm here," and he says, "Billy," and I said, "Yeah, well, I'm Tom. I know, it mentioned something you. My cousin knows you. He played little keyboards with you because they lived kind of in the same part of town there." And that's when I really it occurred to me. I realized that was Billy Gibbons, and so he says, "Yeah, I was writing this little song here, and I just had a little spare time, so." And that was it. And so later in my life, as whatever reason or whatever, if I would mention that I met Billy that way and saw him, in a different persona that most people would have, that it was interesting. And so really, down home guy. And I saw Hendrix 3 times live in person. I saw him once with the Experience Group and twice with a band of gypsies. Fabulous. So musically, I was felt very fortunate. And influences, I think uh, probably melodic influences more. That just groups like the Moody Blues and that were, just sung a lot about what I considered to be. Uh, uh, Profound things of meaning in life and and uh, and then really all musical genres, including country and western, because I'd always enjoyed it, and I spent a lot of time in the beer joint waiting on my dad to whatever stepfather to do, drowned his 12 beers, playing pool or whatever, listening to Johnny Paycheck, and so I just love country. It's in my blood, and uh, and I do love it. And when I play it, people say sometimes, "You sound like Willie Nelson." So I go, "Well, okay, I like Willie. That's a good compliment." Um, So that my music is interest has blossomed here really. Here the last 4 or 5 years, I play in a band. I'm a rhythm guitarist and vocalist. I have a female lead vocalist, a bass player, a keyboard player, an electric ukulele player, and a drummer. So we're having a lot of fun. I never thought in Act Three of my life I'd be playing in a band. 73 years of age in about a week, and but I am, and we're booking gigs and everything. We've booked $4,000 in gigs in the past 6 months or so. Uh, they paid us $1,200 at our last gig and put us up in hotel rooms for the night because it's 2 hours away. So, and we're because of our seniorness, we prefer to get a hotel room rather than drive back from a gig at 2 hours. When we get off, the gig ends at 11 o'clock. So that's bringing me a lot of bliss right now. The music that has been, again, a lifelong interest. My future goals, in terms of my life, if people ask me that, they say, "What are your future goals?" I've always had future goals previous times in my life because I've always felt it's important to set a goal and, shoot for the moon and go as far as you can. So that's been my methodology in business, whatever I've been doing, sales and marketing, or whatever field I've been in. It's always been very important to me. And I have to say right now that I don't really have any future goals because everything that I could imagine that I might try to achieve, I felt like I've already achieved it. I'm not looking, I don't feel the need for anything else. And my only goal is not future, but it's present. I don't have any really future goals. The present is what it's about to me, and that presence is real simple for me. It's just simply every chance I get to serve my community in whatever way I can. Men, women, families, brothers, and sisters, everybody that's out here in this beautiful place where I live, serving them in every possible way because we are one family. We are one being. We are, physics tells us just a bunch of electrons and atoms and molecules. Um, Recent scientists have said, even embraced this idea of everything being consciousness, and all of us, even as individuals, just being individual perspectives within that consciousness, which is everything that is. And that is really pretty cool. So I'm living that. I'm living that every day of my life, and I get an opportunity to. I'm just that's what fulfills me more than anything, and I always have opportunities to do that because when you're living your life in that way, uh, it's just life is made a lot simpler because all these agendas and everything that you used to have earlier in your life or whatever just simply drop off. And how can I help? How can a phone rings? Whatever it is an opportunity to serve. It's an opportunity. It's not a burden, and that's an opportunity. I'm not just saying that. I mean, that's truly what I feel. So life is incredibly beautiful and just wonderful. And despite the aches and pains or whatever else might be going on, uh, as in previous parts of my life, whenever anything was going on, any tribulations or trials, I had my transcendental meditation technique to do, which I continued to do twice a day for 50 plus years. And it always gave me a, a, a sense of centeredness, and a feeling that I know that everything is going to be okay. And to have that ability to go to that place where close my eyes and then have that deep, beautiful rest and then open my eyes and come out and just be ready to conquer everything is just so amazing. Even to this day, I'm so I'm not a proselytizer or anything. You know, there's a million ways to self-realization. For me, TM has been my favorite. It's the thing that has done me, allowed me, I feel, to contributed so greatly to everything I have in my life, and I'll continue to do it until the day I pass. You know, until the day I drop the body, and that's it. Yeah.